2021. Up first, fire danger. Actually, comparing yesterday, you can't really tell in this graphic, but it expanded a little bit up there in the high fire danger for the area north of the Yukon River, or along the Porcupine River there. But it did expand back down to where the Yukon River is, where the two rivers meet there, a little bit there. So it was a little bit of an increase from yesterday, but still not much at all, and too wet everywhere else in the state for any fire danger that's getting into the high category or more. And for the hazardous weather graphics, no watches, warnings, or advisories out anywhere in the state for the next day or so. Real light winds out in the Aleutians, Bering Sea coming up the next couple of days. I don't think anything more than 20 knots in any of the forecasts for the next 2 days out that way, and pretty light winds just about everywhere else as well. And satellite imagery showing moisture moving through. Still the higher top moisture, higher top clouds moved off, but southwest flow keeping keeping the skies cloudy, precipitation on the light side, kind of showery there, into the panhandle of the North Gulf Coast. Moisture, a fair amount of rain fell last 12 hours over the Copper River Basin. Gulkana picked up, about 0.8 of an inch of rainfall there, and even a little bit heavier there in the mountains just to the east of Gulkana. Palmer, back to the west, had about 0.6 of an inch of precipitation, and a 1/4 inch at Eureka, anywhere from 1/10 to 4/10 falling around the, actually up toward a 1/2 an inch falling around the Kenai Peninsula and areas there, northern Kenai Peninsula. Alyeska had about 4/10 of an inch of precipitation today. And then kind of a widespread area of light precipitation over the western interior. For example, or actually over all of the interior, Fort Yukon picked up only 0.02 of an inch, so pretty light. Caltag farther to west-southwest there in the river, about 0.06 of an inch. And Russian Mission about 0.05 of an inch. And then real even lighter there, kind of a break occurring over from about Bethel on down to Dillingham today. Gusty winds as skies cleared out. Sunshine Kenai this afternoon, winds gusting to about 25 miles an hour, 65 degrees there. And Homer Spit actually had winds gusting to 35 miles an hour to the southwest. So kind of breezy conditions behind the moisture there with the clearing skies. Also windy actually over the panhandle, northern panhandle, Skagway, gusts close to 50 miles per hour, as did Cape Spencer, the tighter gradient there. Starting to relax a little bit this afternoon, this evening. Next system there gathering strength along the Alaska Peninsula and to the south, actually spreading moisture northward across the Alaska Peninsula, just high cirrus approaching Kodiak Island. A lot of sunshine today there and into toward Bristol Bay. A lot of clouds out over the Aleutians into the Bering Sea, along with some breaks. And on the chart, you can see a weak trough extending from the interior down off the southwest coast, across the Pribilofs into the northwest there, right into the west central Aleutians, mostly west of Adak. You can see some, looks like Atka, from Adak to Atka was right in the dark area there. Well, that's clear skies and sunshine, as well as Kodiak Island into the Gulf of Alaska. Widespread clearing there. Some of that into Cook Inlet, getting into northern Cook Inlet. And rain, again, lifting northward and pushing eastward. You can see some clearing starting to show up or get close at picture time here of the northern panhandle. And so that is a break ahead of the next system, next warm front coming up to the south there. You can see on the, as we go to tonight, that pushes northeastward, strong southwest jet up to 120, 130 knots. So any systems develop in that will be moving quite rapidly up to the northeast. And that's just what this will do. Spread increasing rain later tonight into Kodiak Island, rain becoming moderate, possibly heavy at times. And showers linger, but slowly decrease for the North Gulf Coast. Stays dry, Cook Inlet, Madawaska-Susitna Valley, Kuskokwim Valley, much of the southwest interior, but lingering chances of showers, low clouds, fog, or drizzle there. Norton Sound, Yukon Delta coast, and to a lesser extent for the Kuskokwim Delta coast area. And that weak trough keeps it kind of unsettled and damp out over the eastern Bering Sea to the Fox Islands, but winds are light, very light out there. Areas of low clouds and fog for IFR conditions, but light winds, dry conditions, and chance of rain and snow, very light showers, northern Seward Peninsula, and just right along the western Arctic coast. Otherwise, showers over the Brooks Range. Showers continuing over the eastern interior areas, slowly diminishing, but they don't end altogether. And then for tomorrow, same pattern up there. Actually, all of interior Alaska, cool, showery, and wet, becoming wetter again with thicker clouds. Southern Alaska, Cook Inlet, Prince William Sound, and then rain becomes moderate to heavy, say from Cordova eastward, Yakutat into the northern panhandle, but stays dry down to the south and warmer with possible sunshine into the afternoon, maybe. Stays wet for Kodiak Island, but winds will be light and precipitation will lighten up as well. And areas of fog, drizzle, low clouds for the Pribilofs with a weak trough there, as well as the southwest coast and the Bristol Bay area. Fox Island, same thing, weak trough, no wind of any consequence at all, barely a breeze, but low clouds, fog at times, maybe a few scattered showers. Whatever precipitation falls will be light. And fair conditions, maybe some clearing for the western Aleutians all the way out to Shimia. Seward Peninsula could see some clearing. Otherwise, clearing's pretty hard to come by tomorrow. Chance of rain or snow, central western Arctic coast with system dropping down from the northwest there. And then showers over the eastern Brooks Range, eastern North Slope with that 1,003 millibar low right near the border. Moving on to the Thursday outlook, that system kind of sending surges of moisture. The one low actually in front actually pulls up there to near Eagle or just north of Eagle by Thursday afternoon. Another one kind of holding back, but there's a fetch of moisture from the southwest, so kind of developing waves, enhancing the rainfall rates. So look for rain, heavy at times, northern panhandle to, say, Yakutat, maybe a little to the west there, moderate rain over to Cordova, Cape St. Elias, maybe into Valdez, periods of rain. Again, Copper River Basin could see a fair amount again, and that'll get north of the Alaska Range, but it'll be lighter. And dry back to the west and northwest, the mid-Yukon River Valley area, mid-Yukon River, and up into the Koyukuk, maybe a few showers, partly sunny for the Kobuk Valley, North Slope looking good, but low clouds and fog for the Arctic coast, chance of showers western Seward Peninsula, and cloud showers and cool conditions southwest coast right into the Kuskokwim Valley, where rain will become a little more tad heavier. With Kodiak Island, just a risk of a shower, not really too bad, that westerly flow. Probably you'll see some sunshine as well. Alaska Peninsula, weak troughs, chance of showers, high pressure, light winds over the southern Bering Sea. No gradient at all out there, just variable winds. And could be some clearing as well. There'll be areas of low clouds and fog, but it probably won't be solid socked in. So you could see a chance of sunshine out there. And then the next system right on the edge of the chart, late in the day there, off to the southwest, probably moving or affecting the area of the western Aleutians Thursday night, maybe bringing the winds up 20, possibly 25 knots. Otherwise, looking at the lows tonight, lower to mid-30s there, chilly conditions up on the Arctic coast, North Slope, actually maybe into the Brooks Range. Otherwise, south of the mountains, 45 to 52, and lower 40s out west. Wales, forecast low 39, and otherwise in the 40s, upper 40s southwest interior areas with mid-40s for the Pribilofs, 45 to 50 for the Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, upper 40s, Bristol Bay. Same thing for southern Alaska, lower to mid-50s for the Panhandle, and highs for tomorrow, not all that high. Mid-60s around the greater Fairbanks area up toward the Yukon Flats, and that's about as warm as it gets. Otherwise, 50s to lower 60s south of the Alaska Range, and mid-50s west of the Alaska Range, cooling to near 50 out along the coast. Lower 50s for the Pribilofs, and mid-50s generally for the Aleutians. Mid-upper 50s, Alaska Peninsula, Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, and mid-50s. There's the lower 60s, could be 60, 65 down over the southern Panhandle tomorrow afternoon. And temperatures staying in the 30s on the western central Arctic coast. And then for Thursday morning, back down to near the frost point there in some areas of the North Slope and Arctic coast, otherwise mid-30s or so, and toward the Brooks Range, and then 40s south of the Brooks Range, Kobuk, Koyukuk, Yukon Valleys, although Kobuk actually, or Ambler, in the Kobuk Valley, could drop a little below 40 degrees with lower to mid-40s over the western interior, Pribilofs, 45 to 50 over the Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, lower 50s Kodiak, upper 40s, lower 50s south central Alaska, and mid to upper 50s for the Panhandle. And then highs for Thursday, there's those lower 70s I spoke of over the southern southeast coast. High pressure holds on there, and you're in the warm sector of the warm front that's bringing the rain up to the north.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving on to the first line weather graphic for middle of the week there, Wednesday morning. IFR Brooks Range, central eastern Arctic coast, eastern North Slope there. Otherwise, the interior, we've got IFR scattered around over the mountainous terrain and marginal VFR scattered around, as well as VFR in areas as well. VFR, Susitna Valley, Cook Inlet, Kamishak, Kachemak Bays down to Fognak Island, the Barrens, and then northeastward to Montague Island into Prince William Sound. But the Coast Range, North Gulf Coast Range, in the IFR zone up into the Talkeetnas, Yakutat, Northern Panhandle down to, say, Mount Edgecombe, eastern inside waters toward the border IFR the Aleutians, Sepshimia and Attu VFR, Alaska Peninsula IFR, and marginal VFR mostly for the Bering Sea up through the Bering Strait, Seward Peninsula, northwest coast, at least part of it. And then for the afternoon, we're looking a little more VFR and less IFR over the interior, so slowly improving, especially southern Alaska, but the late in the day, moisture from the next system already spreading up into Kenai Peninsula, North Gulf Coast, all the Gulf of Alaska, Kodiak Island area there, and also the Panhandle going down to IFR. VFR, Kuskokwim Valley up to the Fairbanks area, Upper Tanana Valley, 40 Mile Country, on up to Eagle and Fort Yukon and those areas, and then back into the marginal VFR for the Brooks Range, IFR, Western Central Arctic Coast, marginal VFR, Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island, southwest interior to the Kuskokwim Mountains there, and up the Yukon River, and mostly marginal VFR for the Alaska Peninsula, and some scattered areas of IFR, central eastern Aleutians, a little more widespread out west, and Pribilofs, IFR. Moving on to the Thursday morning forecast, we've got IFR from the Kuskokwim Valley, across the Yukon Delta, St. Lawrence Island through the Bering Strait, western Seward Peninsula, Arctic coast, and then kind of extending southwestward into the north central interior there, Koyukuk Valley to just north of the Yukon River. And IFR along the Aleutian and Alaska Range becomes solid IFR from the Talkeetnas across Copper River Basin. North of the Alaska Range, VFR. Right up Upper Tanana Valley, 40 Mile Country, Yukon Flats, IFR for the Panhandle, North Gulf Coast, mostly eastern North Gulf Coast, part of the Kenai Peninsula, marginal for Cook Inlet, Susitna Manusca Valley, Kodiak Island, marginal, and a bigger zone of IFR out there over the western Bering, western Aleutians, spreading into 8 during the afternoon hours, or during the morning hours, and lingers into the afternoon hours, kind of having trouble getting into Atka, mostly along the north of the Aleutian chain there, but catching the north shores of Unmak and Unalaska Islands. Marginal VFR, southwest coast, St. Lawrence Island, Seward Peninsula. So marginal VFR over the central interior, bracketed with some VFR on either side. Cook Inlet stays VFR. IFR, again, southern Copper River Basin, eastern North Gulf Coast, and most of the Panhandle, but most of the VFR there toward Annette, Ketchikan area, Stewart, Hyder. And IFR, as I mentioned, on the central, west central Arctic coast. And for passes, Anatuvik, IFR to marginal VFR tomorrow, as is Adigan, improving trend also for Lake Clark and Merrill in advance of the next system. And then coming down again late tomorrow and tomorrow night, IFR to marginal VFR for Rainy. Windy, occasionally marginal, Isabel, improving, starting out IFR, becoming marginal, maybe going VFR. Mentasta, areas occasionally marginal on the southern approach, otherwise VFR. And Tanita, IFR to VFR. Portage, marginal VFR to IFR late as that moisture from the next system spreads in late in the day there. Chilkoot and White, same story, marginal VFR becoming IFR late in the afternoon. Freezing levels, cold air aloft there up over the north slope and Arctic coast, and about 4,000 feet over the Aleutians and eastern Bering, otherwise 8 to 14,000 over the Panhandle. Icing, considerable moderate rime icing, eastern North Gulf Coast in toward Elfin Cove there, Yakutat, and lighter icing though over southern Alaska and up to the north. Jet stream, good southwest flow, 120 to 125 knots there into the eastern North Gulf Coast, 70 to 90 knots at 9,000 feet, 3,000 feet, 40 to 55 knot winds. Translates into considerable moderate chops, surface 6,000 feet there for the northern Panhandle, Yakutat to Cape St. Elias, maybe Cordova, and light to isolated moderate chop, Prince William Sound.
On March 11, 2011, a powerful tsunami hit Japan, destroying cities and villages. As the water receded back into the ocean, it pulled what remained of buildings, cars, boats, and homes along with it. Scrap metals, plastics, and objects of all shapes and sizes either sank near the shore or floated away. In the days that followed, large masses of floating debris could easily be seen by satellite imagery and aerial photos. In the wake of this disaster, NOAA is assessing the potential impact that the debris may have on U.S. shores. So, where will this debris go, and when will it get there? To help answer those questions, scientists are using computer models to estimate the debris' path, using its starting location in the tsunami zone and historical weather and ocean conditions. The findings are that some debris could pass near or wash ashore in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands as early as this winter. Debris may also approach the west coast of the United States in 2013 and potentially circle back to the main Hawaiian Islands in 2014. But scientists caution that there are limitations to what computer models can tell us. Now that the debris has moved out of satellite view, and with currents and winds in the Pacific constantly changing, there is no guarantee that the debris will stay on the predicted path. Items will sink along the way, or break up and disperse in many directions. Despite these unknowns, NOAA and its partners are collecting data, assessing possible impacts, and making preparations in case debris does wash ashore. The 2011 tsunami in Japan reminds us that the devastation that happens on land can also become a marine debris issue at sea.
Imagine all of this underwater. In a major tsunami, it could happen. In this part of Washington state, it's happened before, hundreds of years ago. Sometime in the future, it will likely happen again. But we can be ready. If a tsunami strikes, this school will provide a place for people to ride it out above the waves.
We're in Westport, Washington, and right behind me is the very first tsunami vertical evacuation center in the United States.
We will now begin the tsunami evacuation.
This is an emergency. Please walk to the nearest exit. Go to the stair tower and proceed up the stairs.
Tsunamis are a potential hazard for low-lying coastal areas. That's why many coastal communities have plans in place to get people to safety, high ground or inland, where they can be beyond the reach of a tsunami. Often there are signs showing where to go and where to gather. Most tsunamis are caused by underwater earthquakes along subduction zones, where two of Earth's plates collide and one is forced under the other. Westport and other Pacific Northwest coastal communities are especially at risk because one of these zones lies just offshore. It's called the Cascadia Subduction Zone. An earthquake here caused a tsunami in 1700 that flooded shores as far away as Japan. Experts say it's just a matter of time before it happens again. Since the subduction zone is so close, a tsunami like the one in 1700 could strike before people in some low-lying areas could get to high ground or inland. And Westport doesn't have a lot of high ground or easy routes inland.
If we get an earthquake or a tsunami, we're going to get a lot of water in the area really quickly, and we needed a place to go. So our community built this brand new school, and above our gym and cafeteria, we have a roof. And so the idea is that we'll get all of our students up, and anybody from the community who needs to get up, they can get up there as well.
Ocosta Elementary School might seem like a normal school, but look more closely. It's engineered to withstand monster waves. Tsunami vertical evacuation shelters must be able to resist the powerful forces that a tsunami brings. Hydrodynamic, buoyant, hydrostatic, and debris impact forces and strong currents. They're also designed to help people get to safety quickly.
There are 4 big staircases on each corner of the building, and each one of those staircases is 8 feet wide, and we can get the whole school evacuated in about 4.5 minutes.
Everybody should be at a 0.
On the roof of the building, there is water and food and buckets and shelters and tarps and blankets and different things so that we can be up there for 2, 3, maybe 4 days while we wait for rescue.
You can go to the top and you know you'll be safe. It feels really nice to have a special building because you feel protected.
This community decided that a tsunami evacuation center was important because they didn't have anywhere to go, and they decided to use their money to build the building. The additional cost is anywhere between 10 and 20% of the actual building cost itself, and that's really a sound investment for a lot of protection. You may be there a while, but you're safe and you're secure, and that's the most important thing.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at today's sea ice analysis. Again, not much different from yesterday. Central to the eastern Arctic coast there, still have some ice up along the coastline in areas, otherwise off the coast, and no big changes expected over the next several days. For the coastal water forecast for the southeast coast, tomorrow, south to southwest breeze 15 knots on the south coast, and then increasing to 20 knots on the north coast, and then up toward Yakutat, small craft advisory, south winds 25 knots. Central northern inside waters, southerlies 25 knots with some higher gusts, and for Stevens Passage, southwest winds or south winds of 15. And for Thursday, northwest 15 there for for Clarence Strait, Stevens Passage, and Lynn Canal, small craft advisory, southerlies 25 to 30 knots, light southwest breeze there along the coast of Prince of Wales Island. And then the central coast, southerlies about 20 with small craft advisories on the north coast from the south at 25 knots. Cook Inlet, variable to south winds tomorrow at 10 knots. Same forecast for Kamishak Bay. Barren Islands, northeast 15. Western North Gulf Coast, northeast at 20. And that's Barren Islands, northeast at 15. East winds 25 knots. Small craft advisories for the eastern North Gulf Coast. And Prince William Sound, southeast at 15. Thursday's outlook, light easterlies there for Prince William Sound, 10 knots. Light and variable winds for Cook Inlet and Kamishak Bay, 10 knots or less. Seas pretty slight, 2 to maybe 4 feet. Barren Islands, west winds 15 knots, turn southwest at 15 for the western North Gulf Coast. And over toward Middleton Island, small craft advisories, south winds at 25, 10-foot seas. Kodiak Island, start with Shelikof Strait there, variable winds at 10, northeast 15 for the east side of Kodiak. And the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula, variable winds 10 knots. Top side there, west at 15, turn southwest 15 for Bristol Bay. And for Thursday, west winds 15 knots, Bristol Bay down to Cape Saratchev, and then up to Sitkinak, both sides of the Alaska Peninsula, as well as the east side of Kodiak Island, all 15 knots, the exception being Shelikof Strait, variable at 10. For the Fox Islands, variable winds 10 knots tomorrow, and variable to west at 15, Adak and Atka, west winds 15 knots, Amchitka, Kiska, and Shimia. And a little bit more of a breeze for Shimia to Kiska on Thursday, but only 20 knots out of the southeast, south 15 for Amchitka Island, and variable to west winds 10 to 15 knots there for Numak and Adak, Atka Islands on Alaska Island, west of 15, 4 to 6 foot seas. Pribilofs, northern Bering Sea, Yukon Delta coast, all variable at 10 knots tomorrow, 3 to 4 foot seas. West winds 10 knots, 3 foot seas there for the area south of Nunivak Island and the Kuskokwim Delta coast. Otherwise, St. Lawrence Island looking northerly at 15 knots. Same thing for Norton Sound, north winds at 15 with seas running at about 3 to 4 feet. And moving on to the forecast for Thursday for these areas. Winds stay light and variable for St. Paul, St. George Islands at 10 knots, seas 4 feet. West winds at 15 knots, St. Matthew Island, over northern Bering Sea. West 15 there for the Kuskokwim Delta coast. Yukon Delta coastline, or the marine area there for the Yukon Delta. Looking northwest at 15. North 15 for St. Lawrence Island and Norton Sound, with seas at about 3 feet. And up to the Arctic coast on the east side there, eastern Beaufort Sea coast, west to southwest winds 10 to 15 knots, 2 to 3 foot seas. West at 20, central coast, seas 4 feet. Northwest at 20 knots for the, say, Point Lay down to Cape Thompson, seas at about 4 feet. Then north 20 knots on down to Wales with 4 foot seas. And moving on to Thursday, light northwest breeze there, Wales to Cape Thompson all the way up to toward the central coast, 20 knot winds, but southwest 20 on the central coast, seas 4 feet, and more southerly and a little more variable and lighter for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, about 15 knots or less with 3 foot seas. For tonight, showers at Brooks Range and areas of light rain and showers slowly beginning to diminish, or continuing anyway, throughout much of the night tonight for the area north of the Alaska Range on up to the Yukon Flats, but drying out over the southwest interior and south central Alaska. Some lingering showers North Gulf Coast. Heavier rain comes into Kodiak Island tonight, and that moves right on up to the North Gulf Coast, all of southern Alaska, into the northern Panhandle during the afternoon. Again, day much like today over the interior, areas of rain, showers, very isolated thunderstorms, cloudy, cool conditions right up to the Arctic coast, drier out west, light winds for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. That continues into Thursday.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.